a war of gods as to which god must rule the Africa. So after we have fought the colonial system, we ultimately have to end up with what is capitalism, what is socialism, what are their structures. Not only that, but what are their morality, what is their ethics. And when you start asking those questions, you won't find those questions in the dictionaries of capitalism. Because right now, capitalism must tell us, is it synonymous with Christianity? Or is socialism synonymous with anti-religion? But in African Ubuntu, then we understand that God is not a noun, but God is a verb. As He manifests Himself, so we name Him. So we have the Creator, we have the Rainmaker, we have the Protector. So every time we experience God, so He remains the one that is unknowable, the one with no name. But the one who says, I am that I am. In other words, when you are hungry, I become the food. When you are thirsty, I become the water. When there is drought, I make it rain. When there are diseases, I heal. So we experience our sense of spirituality not as a program on a weekend, but it becomes a daily experience. So whether we're eating, it's a religious, it's a spiritual expression. Whether we're drinking water, it's a spiritual expression. Whether we're getting married, it's a spiritual expression. Whether we are plowing, it's a spiritual expression. Whether we are sleeping, it's a spiritual expression. Whether we are burying each other, or children are being born, spirituality becomes the continuous expression of life itself. And hence I think in the peak of my learning, I then quickly came to my senses that this whole thing of you must become a Christian is a fallacy of the highest order. Because you can't be what you are not. So you can never be a Christian as an African. Because I am Maponga, I don't have to be a Maponga. I don't become a Maponga except to be born. Then I am what I am. Then you understand that all these forms of religions that want you to become like them becomes an intelligent way of colonialism. So had the Muslims come to Uganda, maybe all of you have been Muslims. Had the Chinese been here earlier on, maybe all of you have been Buddhists. But because the British got here, Wara, I'm a Christian. You can't be a Christian. Just agree that we were colonized by the British, and the God of the colonizer has become my God also. Question in closing. Can the God of the master and the God of the slave be the same? And let's Christianity and Islam by nature, they are bullies of African culture. It is expressed in their intolerance of other people who believe differently from who they are. So here's a simple example. If a Muslim walks into this village, the first object is to build a mosque and make everyone in that village a Muslim. It changes your timetable of waking up. You wake up at 5, changes your fashion, changes the way you bury your loved ones. Now you must do everything according to Islamic law. The same thing is true with Christianity. Christianity walks into a space, first thing they want to do, as a Zulu, as a Xhosa, you take off your shirt and put on your beautiful beads. Hebrew beads, by the way. We're Jewish. You put on your Hebrew gear, which is traditional, and you walk up to church. Christianity will look at you, though now there's a bit of tolerance. But the first glance is unacceptable. Because the God that Christianity has does not have tolerance for culture. Does not. Rather, I would rather take off that thing, put on your shirt, put a tie on you, put a jacket, polish your shoes, and say, now you look nice. Because apparently you must become European first before you can become Christian. In order for God to accept you, He cannot accept you in your authenticity. He needs first to take you through the culture of the dominant culture, which is the colonial culture, before you can actually become an acceptable Christian. An intelligent conversation needs to take place where we say, is everything that we are doing in Christian church Christian? Or some of the things, norms, and rituals that we're performing are actually European culture. But now they've been couched and packaged as Christianity. The way we sing, for example. The way we dress, for example. The way we eat, for example. The way we celebrate our things our holidays, our festivals, our Passovers, and etc. Are these things Easters? Are these things biblical? Christmases.
You ruffled a lot of feathers with
some churches that are cutting
Easter
trees
issue over the Easter weekend.
I mean, it's a simple question. Look into that graph. Look at that graph and find out how religious are those countries that are producing millionaires. And we have more churches in Africa than we have industries. On every corner, there is a church. Like in some parts of Nigeria, in one building, you find 15, 20 churches. Ground floor, second floor, third floor, right up to the top. And some are coming at 9, some are coming at 11, some are coming at 2, some at 10 in the evening. All of them are just praying and praying and praying. Hey, African people, stop praying too much. Start working. God does not say, I will bless your prayers. He said, I will bless the labor of your hands, and by your sweat you shall eat, not through your prayers. So we cannot substitute our hard work with prayerful lives. Prayer will leave you in poverty. Hear me well. Prayer will leave you in poverty. So we need to learn how to work. Look into that graph and find out these countries that are producing millionaires. What religion are these people believing in? Maybe we need to change the gods that Africa has accepted to deal with these ones here that seem to be economically viable and progressive in terms of helping their own members. Can't be spending your whole day at church. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, choir, Friday, youth day, Thursday, women's day. What? There's practice. Then it's practice. Then it is all these old age things. The whole week you are in church. When are you going to sit down and start making money? So we need to find out from these countries again what is the recipe of their success. And having discussed that in terms of their labor, we also need to find out what kind of tax facilities that they have in terms of tax havens. How are they treating their investments? How did they structure their financial systems? You can also find out in those countries that are producing the most millionaires. Find out for me. Our churches' buildings, our churches' hearts. The same Bible says, I don't dwell in houses that are built by men. I dwell in a house that I built for myself. Therefore, your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost. Now, if your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, what the hell are you doing for in church? You're already in church. And Corona has actually brought this whole to light, that you don't need a building to find God. God is here. I'm in church right now, right here with myself. Therefore, so ecclesiology begins to talk about human structures that are trying to gather people together. That's where trouble begins. Because once people gather together, there are bills to pay. There's electricity to pay. There is water to pay. There's fundraising to be done. There are other issues to be done. Now people are going to be cooking theology to maintain a building. Cooking theology to maintain white structures. Is this divine? Is this biblical? Do we find any church that was built in the Bible? Or we only find a sanctuary and a temple which people would come and attend once every 3 years? And when they are coming to these churches, that's when they brought their tithe once every 3 years. And if you cannot come, please take your tithe and eat it with your neighbors. That's what the Bible teaches. But now by every weekend, I believe. You do believe in Jesus? Yes. You don't believe in Jesus? Yes. Raise up your hand, and after you put your hand down, please can you have some money? Has the gospel now become a marketplace where pastors are selling hope, selling us cities that are in the sky? Are we in a hurry to go to heaven? Are we in a hurry to go to heaven? Because we have failed to live on earth. You want to walk on the streets of gold when you get to heaven. You have ever held a bar of gold in your hands while you're on earth? You want to go and look after God's heaven when you cannot look after your own earth here? The whole issue of theology becomes pastors are now selling for us a home in the sky. I have a question for you. If God wanted us in heaven, then why did he create us on earth? Why are we here? Now all of a sudden we're here discussing how and what are we going to do after we die. Who cares about what we die? Let's stop talking about the dead. Let's talk about living. How do we live? What is the divine principle? What is the human principle? Many churches have become human institutions rather than divine connecting centers. We go to church to maintain buildings, not to maintain our own souls. But for the first time as South Africans, let's remove stooge leaders.
Let's allow those that are running this economy to come to the front and run it themselves. Oppenheimer, President, Nick, and Rupert, Prime Minister. Let them run this country and we can hold them accountable to the resources that they're holding in their hands. But for us to be happy with a black face that is hoofing around the building, yet the real man who is running the business is sitting in the corner, I think we're messing it up altogether. So let's give these guys an opportunity. Maybe it sounds unpopular, but let me say it, and maybe the first one to say it. Let's stop working with ANC or EFF or DA stooges. Let's find the people who are owning the economy to come forward and be accountable to us as a nation as to what are they doing with their resources. Because this whole thing of working, you think you're dealing with America, you think you're dealing with France, but how come even when a president changes, the agenda does not change? Why? Because there's a stronger backbone of financial muscle through IMF, which is managing. The crisis in Zimbabwe came from IMF. Through ASAP, Economic Structural Adjustment System, was a full program that Zimbabwe accepted from the IMF. Where did it lead us? It collapsed the whole economy, closed companies and jobs and etc. And then we ended up becoming a basket case to go and beg for them to fix the problem that they had created. So when you look at the African continent in its totality, struggling constantly to win themselves away from this colonial muscle. Now they come around with a beautiful thing. They're going to teach us democracy. They're going to teach us how to manage ourselves. They're going to be showing us how best to run countries. But how can you be teaching me democracy when you're the same one who was killing me? How can you be teaching me human rights when you're not practicing the human rights? Are sanctions not a crime against humanity? When you refuse people medicines, you refuse them clean water. You look at Niger. You want my minerals. You want my uranium. You want my minerals. And then you still want to come and kill me. There are deposits of uranium and radioactive material that France has left lying on the ground. It's a global cry. No one talks about that. The Chad Dam is drying up. No one is talking about that. The Americans put their base in Niger to manage the ECOWAS, but no one is talking about that. The young man comes out, Tory, and says, enough is enough. Let's close this thing up. You want uranium? You're going to put a power station here. Then I can switch it on and switch it off when I want to. That's power for me. And when you begin to look at politics like that, my one statement and comment I would want to pass to Africa, starting off with ECOWAS, this is for Benin, this is for Guinea, Conakry, this is for Mali, this is Burkina Faso, this is Cameroon, and all of you guys who are in that one belt, as of now, become one country. Consolidate your military power together. The problems of Niger are the problems of Burkina Faso. The problems of Burkina Faso are the problems of Mali. And they are just transferring the same rotten apples from one country to another. So I would think that these countries that are directly affected, particularly the 6 countries that have gone through coups, I wish those 6 army generals can actually come together and create one country so far. And then chase away the American and the French influence in their own countries. Because that is the problem at the center of it all. America does not want Russia to come in. So they will destabilize the country to make sure that Russia is overstretched in terms of its resources. We now know the war is not about anything. The war is about resources. And again, I say, if Africa is not careful, that Americans will give guns to ECOWAS and France will give guns to ECOWAS. And ECOWAS takes those guns to go and kill people in Niger. We are back to square one, where a black African brother is holding a gun to shoot another African brother based on an American and a Frenchman who is sitting in their countries drinking tea. So while we as Africans are sitting in the graveyard and crying for the passing away of each other, the Americans and the French are at the bank signing checks as to what are the spoils of war. We will be fools as Africans if at this day and age we still don't see the enemy that is standing amongst us in the form of America and France and colonization. In whatever form it comes, unity is our solution. Divided we fall, united we stand.
Every time we make an announcement that Jesus is the answer, we need to ask him, what is the question? You cannot just tell me it's an answer when there's no question. And any religion that matures must start questioning itself. It is in questioning yourselves that you begin to grow. In our infancy, when we were young, we believed everything. In maturity, we question everything. The religion that says, give me that old-time religion, is wrong. We're in this trouble because of old-time religion. let's say commitment, education, but all-time religion cannot work. In conclusion, we needed to start finding for ourselves as Christians, is the miracle something that is external, or is the real miracle what is internal? And I want to challenge you, all other demonstrations can happen externally. Until your heart changes, there's no miracle that is taking place. And many of us want to see apparitional miracles. We want angels to fall from heaven. We want fire out of the mouths. We want men to fall from heavens. We want people to guess our passwords on our cell phones. Then, oh, men of God, go deeper. Oh, go deeper, men of God. And that's not a miracle. The real miracle, the things I used to do, I do them no more. The places I used to go, I go no more. It was a great day when I was born again. So if you are looking for a miracle, look for the internal works of grace, not for the external demonstrations of acts.